guys, what's up? I'm Mary Richardson, Rapid Transformational Therapy Practitioner. I hope you all are well. In this video, I'm going to answer the question, why do you become more attracted or more in love with a narcissist the longer they are gone? All right, so before I jump in, for those of you who don't know me or haven't heard of me, I help people get unstuck. I help you overcome anxiety, procrastination, self-doubt, all those good fun things that you don't want in your life after a traumatic experience or a narcissistic experience. You might have some of those things holding you back, and it might be really difficult to get over those things. That's what I do. You can comment. Make sure you make comments, questions. I love those. I'll answer those in other videos. If you want to reach out to me, be sure and click my link in the bio, and we'll jump on a call. All right, let's get started. So why may you might find that you're more attracted or more in love with a narcissist the longer they're gone. So let's say you're out of the relationship, you've gone to great pains to break it with the narcissist, and you're moving forward, and all of a sudden you find that you're thinking about them more and more, and you just can't let it go. It's almost compulsive that you're thinking about them. That trauma bond that bonded you to the narcissist is real, and until you break that, you will always want, or you may feel that you're always wanting to go back in time to that narcissist. Also, what we do after a narcissistic friendship, a relationship, whether it's family or friends, we tend to idolize or make their offenses against us less severe. So in the moment when they're disrespecting, when they're abusive, or when they're just condescending, patronizing, putting you down, it's crystal clear in your mind that you don't want to be around the narcissist, right? And I don't care if it's a boss, a family member, personal relationship, you're just, especially family member, you just want to get away from them. Then you're away from them for a while, and it doesn't seem as real. You kind of maybe making those offenses seem less harsh, even though at the moment when it happened and they were abusive, it was really painful. So over time you might feel, oh, I can spend time with a narcissist, and then you spend time with them and they don't change, right? Because they don't think anything is wrong with them. So they're up to their old manipulation, and you find you're just done. What happens with a relationship, or can happen, is that you may have no contact, low contact, and it might seem that they might even start love bombing you again, where they're saying everything that they think you want to hear. They are doing everything they think you want them to do, and they're telling you all the right things. They might even tell you, hey, I'm in therapy, or hey, I'm meeting with a counselor, as if that's going to negate all the pain they caused you, right? And you might think, oh, well, they're getting better. Really? Or are they just saying that to get you back, and then they're going to stop going to counseling? Or is the counseling just some version of a lie? Because we know that narcissists, they twist the truth, right? Maybe he or she made a call to a counselor, but maybe they didn't book in. That seems more likely, perhaps, that they're going to just twist the truth and say that they're meeting with a counselor, because in their mind they twist it around, right? And so they tell you more than what's actually what they're doing, right? They're not doing very much, and they're hoping their breadcrumbs of what they're doing will be enough, right? And my standard answer for something like that, this is just my opinion, I'm not giving you advice, it's just I'm a reasonable person, and for me, if it were happening to me, this is just my opinion, I would tell them, great, call me after a year, call me after 2 years, call me after 5 years that you've been in counseling, and you can prove you've been in counseling and you've changed. I would set up so many, and even then I still wouldn't be interested, right? But my point is, that's typical of what narcissists do. They give you a little breadcrumb of hope that they are doing something that you want, and then they just pull the rug right out from under you. They get you back into their realm, and then you start asking questions like, aren't you going to go to the counselor? You said it was every Tuesday. 3 Tuesdays have passed and they're not meeting with them, right? So then their lies just unravel, and now it's the counselor's fault, right? So we know how they work. And you have to be really smart. Use your intellect and, set up those barriers, set up those boundaries for yourself. That you've been through a lot of pain, you've gotten out of it. Do you really want to revisit that? Do you really want to undo all the progress you've made? And here's what I think also happens to those of us that once we get away from the narcissist, we might start feeling remorse, pain, loneliness, remorse for thinking that, we might start thinking, oh, it was more my fault than their fault, or it was equally my fault as much as their fault. Because we want the familiarity back. The brain loves what's familiar because it feels safe, it feels predictable. And yes, abuse can be predictable. Yes, it can be familiar. The brain doesn't really like things to change too much because that's a little uncomfortable. Just like growing, as you think about when you're in school, the start of the next school year, it was exciting but also terrifying and scary, right? Because you were, it's a whole new level. So think of yourself, you're at a whole new level now, and you've got to embrace it and go even higher to new levels, and that can only mean you're going to be uncomfortable, right, as you grow. So if you're not uncomfortable, it probably means you're not growing. You're not reaching, you're not stretching. So when you are uncomfortable, I mean in a healthy sense, right? Not in an abusive sense, but in a healthy sense. When you're uncomfortable because things aren't normal or familiar, it can mean that you're growing and stretching and reaching and working towards something that's important to you. And isn't that why you made the change anyway? So you might find it hard to see your ex-narcissist moving on with their life, or supposedly moving on with their life. What narcissists do, though, they have an insatiable need for supply, which is attention, validation. We know it's insatiable. We know that it'll never be enough for them. So you can almost bet that they will want at some point to reach out to you, because they are not usually able to make a long-term relationship work, because unless the person has no boundaries and they're a people pleaser and they just don't want to, it doesn't mean it's a happy relationship for their partner, spouse, friend, whatever. It just means that he or she will always, the narcissist will always present a picture that looks perfect. And they will make sure they present that picture on a forum, on a site, in a way that you will see it and hear about it. All right, even through friends, they will use all their flying monkeys, all their people that are probably afraid of them in some sense, or they're letting the narcissist use them. They will be sure and tell them things that they know will get back to you, that will cause you great pain. And narcissists, if you notice that, start looking at their eyes, because there's a certain way the pupils dilate when people are excited or happy. And you may notice that the narcissist's eyes dilate the more pain you're in, or the more pain they're causing around you. In other words, if you're obviously interacting with them, right, and you can look into their eyes and they're bringing up all of the things you failed at or supposedly failed at, or all of the things that didn't go right in your life, if you look at their pupils and their eyes, you may notice that they're dilated. It's because they're very excited to cause you great pain. Why is that? Because it makes them feel better about themselves. Because if you peel away the narcissist's exterior, they're really always functioning from the ego. It's just a hollow ego, and underneath that is just a load of insecurity. There isn't any, they don't have a capacity. Studies have proven, not my opinion, but studies have proven that, or have shown that they believe, the experts believe that the narcissist doesn't have the capacity to genuinely show empathy to anyone, right? Not even kids. They can fake it, and they can fake it for a while, but it's not like genuine concern where you and I, if someone's hurting, we constantly have that on our heart. We're constantly lifting them up in prayer, or we're concerned about them. Maybe we can't fix their problem, but we might think about them often and wish them well. And that's genuine empathy. We know how painful it could be to go through a rough spell, a rough time. And we can empathize, even though we don't want to be in their situation, of course, but we can empathize at how much pain people can be in. The narcissist doesn't have this. They easily let go of anyone else's feelings. In fact, the narcissist has a belief, I think, my opinion, I think they have a belief that if everybody didn't have feelings, it would be so much more convenient for the narcissist, because they really don't want to deal with people crying. They may even tell their kids, don't cry, don't feel that way, or you don't feel that way. Yeah, I actually had somebody tell me that. Oh, you don't feel that way. You don't really feel that way. Which made me really confused, because I'm thinking, I just told you I felt that way. So they're almost saying, I don't accept that. I'm gonna push it back on you so you can change what you say to me. Which is they really negate who you are. They negate your authenticity. They negate your good feelings. You deserve so much more. So if you are finding that you're starting to backslide into wanting the narcissist back in your life, start pushing yourself even harder to reach your own goals. Because the more in tune and absorbed you get in achieving your own goals and your own dreams, the less you will be pulled backwards. And that means that you're going to have hopefully an easier time of breaking that trauma bond. Trauma bond is not impossible to break it. You just have to get really invested in yourself, really invested in the things you were given to do, on this earth. Take care of your kids, take care of your pets, take care of yourself. Strive and reach for the dream job, the dream career, the business you always wanted to start, because when you do those things, you will just build your confidence so much more, and the more confidence, the more self-esteem you have, you'll go even further. Not that there won't be difficult days, there always are, but it won't be at the level of the narcissist constantly pushing you down, or pushing on that invalidation button. I mean, it really hurts when the narcissist wants to just condescend and be patronizing, right? You can muster up the courage in the moment when they're doing it, and you've probably gotten really good at that, but to constantly fight against that, someone who's putting you down, that's a terrible space to be in. That's my opinion. So I hope this gives you some courage to keep pushing forward. Kind of a longer video, but the anxiety that you get after the narcissistic relationship, it can also show up in different forms. That'll be another video. But be well, my friend, and keep pushing forward on your own goals. And crying is a way of healing. So let it out. It's normal to cry. It's good to cry, in spite of what the narcissist told you. It's good to be aware of your feelings. If you're aware that you want the narcissist, you feel like you're falling in love with them, well, at least you're feeling your feelings. But get to the root cause of that. Is it just because you're lonely? Because you can still be lonely. On some level, all of us are lonely, right? Because nobody could be there 24/7 for us. So you're in good company if you're lonely. All right, take good care. Bye. I'll see you in the next video. Oh, by the way, I'm Mary Kay Richardson. I help people heal. Bye.